everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 179. I'm in the house with Miss Rachel, Foxy, Guy, and we've just been sitting here off air chatting through what we're trying to create with a little trip to Marbella of the two of us. You will have known that I did the BTM retreat last year. We took a load of people out to Marbella. We trained, we had fun, we ate, we slept, we ate, we chatted, we played volleyball, we taught, we ran around an assault course, we got dirty together, we made new friends. It was really cool. And this year, me and Rachel are going to do one. We're not actually going to release it till next week. So I'm being a bit of a tease. I'm sorry.
You just announced it. We're doing a retreat together.
Yeah, but we're not. We just want to, get some fine details together. We want to make sure that what we're offering and what we're going to do with people is exactly what you want. We're going to be doing a lot of physical stuff. Rachel really wants to get on the gym floor with people and really show the kind of movement side of her knowledge. Because look, we've talked an awful lot about nutrition on this podcast. We've talked about mindset, and sometimes you just want to get in the gym, you want to move, and that's the stuff that Rachel loves to do. I love to do it. I'm just not as clever as Rachel, isn't it? As you know, stick to more the nutrition side of it.
But this is the thing, and this, like we were talking off air, I love nutrition. It is a passion of mine, but nowhere near to what it is, for you. And the same with training. Like my passion for coaching is in training, and I love getting people on the gym floor. And obviously, my business has been online for the past couple of years, and I really think that there's a very big difference between I can write the best periodized training program for fat loss for somebody over a 12-week period, but depending on how that fat loss program is actually executed will determine the type of results you're getting. And obviously with the online training that I do, I make it very clear that my goals are to stick to certain rest periods and tempo and actually how the exercise is executed, but there is nothing like being face-to-face, and that's what I'm really excited about. We've got 4 nights or 5 days together, 4 nights, and really just getting personal and really doing some hands-on coaching with people, and I'm really excited. So we can hit all angles with training, nutrition. We'll just potentially do some mindset stuff as well, and hell, why don't we talk about life, careers, and all that kind of stuff, because we do on a podcast. So really, we are just fine-tuning the details, and it's really exciting.
If people do want to have a look, there is the option to get it or buy it already. If you go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk and click on the retreat tab, it's already there. But the reason why we're not sort of telling you exactly is because we want to nail down the itinerary. Yes. So if you think, oh, fuck it doesn't matter, whatever Rachel and Ben are going to do is going to be brilliant, well, you can go and grab it now, and we'll see you in Marbella. But on the next podcast, we'll tell you what we're going to do and give you a little bit more details. But there's loads of people that aren't interested in that, so we better get stuck into why we're here to help people out.
But I won't lie, it is going to be awesome. And let's be honest, it's July in Marbella, so it's going to be amazing. Anyway,
it's going to be freaking hot as well.
It will be hot, I know, and my fair skin now I'm in London, God. That's one thing I've been buying less of, because I don't really go out in the sun very much anyway, because I'm one of those fair-skinned princesses who wants to stay young forever. I have been, I usually buy factor 50 to 100 sunscreen. And since I've moved to the UK in the past 6 months, I've gone through literally a quarter of what I would usually go through. Because believe it or not, and here's a tip, girls, always wear sunscreen on your face. I don't care if it's raining outside. There are still SPF factors coming through and UV coming through which can damage your skin. So you must wear sunscreen every day under your makeup.
Well, that's
that's
what happens when you move from Australia to the UK. I don't want to point out the obvious, but
I know. I'm still grieving a bit of Australia, but no. All in all, I'm actually loving being back in the UK. And I went for lunch with one of my friends today, who's come over from Sydney on business, and we went out to lunch. And I said to him, "Oh my God, how terrible is this weather? It's freezing cold and it's pissing down with rain." He said, "Actually, it's kind of novel. I quite like it." And to a certain extent, I do actually still feel that way, because, the weather in Australia is usually pretty good, and it's quite novel having, cold weather. It's cool.
Anyway, we're talking about the weather.
Okay, I know we do this a lot. Right, let's go on the podcast.
Right, stop that.
Let me start with these questions. Right. So this question is from Katie. Now it is rather a long one. So, hi Ben, I just wanted to get in contact to say thank you to you for everything you've done for me without realising in the past 6 months. I'm likely to ramble on and start an essay that would rival my dissertation, as it's hard to keep things succinct sometimes, so apologies. You might not even see this email, or maybe even open it, or get put off by the length, but I'm hoping you don't. I started listening to your podcast in early October. At this point, I was going through a bit of a hard time, and knowing I wanted to turn my interest in nutrition into a career, but not knowing where to start, my sister, who has actually joined the BTN Academy herself, suggested that I started listening to your podcasts. I'm now on episode 102. Although as my phone automatically downloads the latest ones, I sometimes cheat and go straight to the ones that look cool. I think you may have just changed my life. I'm 26 years old and I've had an interesting life so far. From a young age, I've battled anxiety, and by the age of 11, this had manifested itself into a chronic fatigue syndrome. By 13, I had been pulled out of school as I was apparently close to a nervous breakdown. So from the ages of 13 to 16, I was home tutored, with my local council allocating me 5 hours tuition a week. At 16, after taking 5 GCSEs, I gained 2 A's and 3 B's, and I made the decision to go back to school. As I made this decision in October, I effectively had a gap year. So I decided to retake my science GCSEs to gain a double A and teach myself another GCSE because, as you can imagine, many schools would not take me for sixth form with such minimal qualifications. Unfortunately, during this time, I developed anorexia. To this day, this was the worst thing that I have ever been through, and to be honest, it has only been in the last 6 months that I feel like I've recovered and started to become the person I'm meant to be. I'm actually starting to see the whole experience as a plus, and as it was during this time that I started to become interested in nutrition, perhaps not for the right reasons, and my drive to succeed academically kicked in. Although ultimately studying medical science at the University of Leeds, achieving a Bachelor of Science Honours 2-1 award in July 2011, my love for nutrition never died, and although it has taken me a very long time to realise it, I've now actually decided that I need to follow my dreams, and I've decided to enrol in the BTN Academy next year. I've actually done a couple of nutrition courses online, and one discovering the basics, and the other in sports nutrition. It has taken until now, to which I owe a huge chunk to you and your podcasts, for me to really think about what I want and also realise that there is nothing wrong or abnormal with wanting to get my head down and study. This is something that I felt so embarrassed to do at school whilst everybody was watching TV in their free sessions and thinking that I was the geek in the corner. I want to learn more and be more. Even at 26, it's not too late to start again. Take a risk and go after a career that I love. Just maybe I deserve to wake up in the morning and get excited about work. Career-wise, great things haven't happened for me yet. Partly because I don't believe I was ready, because I didn't have the confidence, and because I couldn't make the decision on what I wanted, or on some level, I didn't think that I deserved it. I have decided, after some soul searching on some nights where I couldn't sleep, and emailing a query through to your team at the BTN Academy to enrol at the practical level next April. I have worked out that if I save just over £60 a month between now and when the course would end, I would be able to afford it. Thinking in this way, it's a bloody bargain. And another huge thing for me, which is in large part thanks to you and the education that you provide me on a more specific level, was working out the foods which don't work for me. I always felt groggy in the afternoon, and I usually just put this down to the residual effect of having chronic fatigue syndrome for so long. I was also worried about cutting things out through fear of getting too orthorexic given my history of eating disorders. However, after listening to some of your podcasts on this subject and doing my own research, I gave up gluten just after Christmas, started taking prebiotics, and honestly, I feel like a new person. I have felt my anxiety reduced dramatically. It is, of course, that's still there, but I'm so proud of myself for reducing it as much as I have. and my energy and concentration is so much better. I have, of course, had skeptics suggest that I'm being a hypochondriac, that gluten sensitivity only exists if you're a celiac, and sometimes that it's just, and perhaps it is just the placebo effect. But with my newfound confidence, I just thought, fuck you. I'm going to do what makes me happy and what I enjoy. I will need to work full-time while studying, and I do think that this holistic approach to my health and diet will mean that I have the energy and mindset to cope with it. So thanks, Ben. I really look forward to meeting you and your team next year. So I have a question to finish off. What sort of companies could I work for once I've graduated from your academy? From my point of view, and having a Google, it seems that aside from potentially having the opportunity to work for BTN, I'm somewhat restricted to being self-employed or working for the NHS. Apologies if I have got this wrong or oversimplified it, but I just want to ensure that I have a good plan on some direction as soon as I can, especially since direction has been a bit of an issue for me in the past. Katie.
Wow, what a story, hey?
Yeah.
And, you know, you try and think about how many people have kind of gone through a very similar thing, and, you know, people can often feel bad about age. Like, you know, 26 is still so young. Like,
so young.
And, you know, not knowing what you want to do at 26 is still an absolutely fine thing as well. And, you know, you think when we were younger, it was always the done things for people to say, oh, well, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an astronaut or whatever. And it's almost like whatever word you gave, that was then your path for life. But yeah. I can imagine that I'll probably change careers, let's say 3 times in the course of my life. I might stay a nutritionist for the next 5 to 10 years, and I'll be like, do you know what? I want to move into a different career path, and then I want to move into something else. And you have to do that. You have to fire yourself up. You have to get out of bed every day and be charged up to live your life. And if there's a point at time when you go, do you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And that's absolutely fine. Just because I'm a nutritionist right now doesn't mean I have to stay a nutritionist for the rest of my life. And it doesn't mean that if I'm fired up to do something else, as long as I'm adding value to the world, which I believe I have to do, and I think every human has some kind of purpose to add value, then really that's amazing.
Absolutely. I started my career as a physiotherapist, and then I went into, you know, personal training, and then I went down the strength conditioning field and, you know, was so serious about strength conditioning, reading all these textbooks and stuff. And then I went into, you know, still a trainer, but, you know, my interests then became, you know, female fat loss. And now I'm not doing any like face-to-face and, you know, personal stuff. I'm not seeing one-on-one clients at the moment because I'm trying to grow something bigger in more of the holistic mindset and fat loss market. So, you know, your career does change. And, you know, I look at the ladies in my Chase Life program, which is, you know, a fat loss and mindset program that I have. We've got women in their 30s and 40s who are changing career. So when somebody tells me they're 26 and they want to change career, I'm like, go now. Like, you've got no excuse not to. You've got no excuse not to change right now.
I wanna bring up something that Katie actually kind of brought up about the whole celiac thing and her being gluten, because gluten is something that we talked about quite a bit in the early years in the podcast, because when I started the podcast, there was very much the paleo emergence. People were talking about gluten and dairy and that kind of stuff a lot, and we covered it a lot. But these days, there's, you know, probably in the last 6 months, has been very much an anti-gluten movement, in that if you're not celiac, you know, you might be a hypochondriac, it might not be an issue. Like, you know, we're just it's just trendy to be gluten-free. And ultimately, you know, sometimes you've got to say, okay, great, the science can guide us to a degree, but I can give you so many people that I've worked with and in my current close community now that have issues with gluten, and they're not celiac. You know, they don't have a stark sensitivity, but there's something big going on. And, you know, the medical community might not be able to test something, you know, directly. I'm the same with, you know, dairy, and I know dairy or lactose intolerant is a bit more proven. I lack an enzyme. But, you know, ultimately, you have to listen to your body. You have to eat food groups, and if you identify with food groups that react to you, you have to take them out. That's how you achieve a better state of health, because they are going to cause a state of ill health over time. So it's really, really important that, and I don't want people to feel that, the tide has shifted in terms of the thinking around gluten. It doesn't matter. Whatever food it is, dairy, gluten, apples, bananas, I don't know. It doesn't matter. If you're reactive to it, you're reactive to it. And you either bring it out, take it out, fix it and bring it back in, or it's, kind of permanently out of your diet. But ask a question, answer the question, sorry. Nutrition courses or any course, you should obviously, and you need to go into doing a course to understand what you're going to get out the back end of it. Now, if you want to work in like pro sport, you want to be in the NHS, you want to do something that means you have to be a nutritionist or a dietitian, then you need to go to uni. You need to do a degree in nutrition and a degree in dietetics and a degree in nutritional therapy, and then you can work in those frameworks. Now, if you do a course like mine, the BTN Academy, that means you can really, it's more of I'll call it a private sector qualification. Like, it's going to equip you to be self-employed. It's probably going to equip you to work with some teams. It's going to equip you to work in a gym and some organisations. But stuff like the NHS, professional sports teams, they need this kind of degree framework. So, it very much is a nutrition course for people that are either A, really interested in nutrition, or B, want to be a self-employed coach, want to be a self-employed nutrition coach, who want to add it as part of their personal training kind of setup and thinking. So yeah, you're right. Your assumptions, that's kind of the very similar courses. There's plenty of people out there, like, Rachel's developing her Chase Life program. It's not something that will teach you to be anything kind of official. It's very much something that will take you on another personal journey. I know mine's a bit different. It's kind of almost a semi-official course. But, you have to look at courses, why they're taught, what you want to get out of it, and whether that's going to benefit the journey that you're about to go on as a person.
I just think as well, if you, generally speaking, if you're, you have to look at the type of person that, what suits you. You don't have to become employed. Some people suit employment. So if you just want to work 9 to 5 or, set hours and get a set pay every month, then by all means work for somebody. And that's totally cool. I've got some great friends who have fully said, fuck, I couldn't do what you do. There's so much responsibility for what you do. Likewise with you, Ben, running several companies, there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with it. However, what I fear most, and I'm sure what you fear most, is the idea of not having your own flexibility to do what you want to do. So for us, as business owners and entrepreneurs, we feel really enclosed by the idea of employment. However, some people really like the idea of employment because they value security over the idea of uncertainty. See, I thrive on a bit of uncertainty, which is why I love what I do. And having the flexibility. And there are pros and cons of both, but I certainly wouldn't. If you're really passionate about what you do, start your own business, run your own show, do things your way.
Job done.
Awesome. On. Next question. Oh, I like this question. I can get my teeth stuck into this one. Okay, so this question is from Tim. Hi Ben, I'm 43, male, and I've been weight training for about 3 years. And whilst I'm mainly training to keep healthy, like many others, I'm also keen to gain lean mass. The problem I have is with regards to my mind. When I'm training hard, my mind gives up before my body does. I've been training in the mornings, typically around 7 a.m. for 6 months or so, and I was hoping my head would be pretty clear. However, I'm finding myself failing to do the full amount of work that I know I can do for 2 reasons. Occasionally, I'm thinking about things that are going on in my life, work, for example, so I'm losing focus. But more often, if I'm training harder, I get those "I can't do this" or "I need a quick rest" voices in my head, which makes me want to stop and recover and get my breath back. But I know I should have the physical strength to carry on with the set or get a few extra reps out. I really do try to focus on the reasons why I'm in the gym if my mind gives up, but more often than not, that doesn't help. My mental strength sucks. I do take a pre-workout, Optimum Nutrition, Amino Energy 4 scoops, and Genetic Supplements workout food, 1 scoop intra-workout. Do you have any advice on how to focus whilst training, either perhaps supplement-wise or just some techniques to help keep that focused? Many thanks, Tim.
I know Rachel said that, I get my teeth really stuck into this, but I literally have a 1 minute answer, and I'm going to cover actually the nutrition first before I get into the training thing. Your pre-workout, I don't want to poo-poo on certain supplement brands and stuff because, everyone needs to do their own research, but Optimum's Nutrition Amino Energy for me it's just a very fancy caffeinated drink. Like I would personally just grab a cup of coffee. Amino 4 scoops. It's a very expensive way to dose yourself with caffeine. It's got some aminos in it. I would personally take that alongside, some creatine, some beta-alanine, and maybe a coffee. I take it because you're getting up early in the morning. You're using the workout food intra-workout as like some fuel because I'm assuming you're not eating before training. If that's the case, then cool, by all means take on board like simple sugars, amino acids and stuff. If you do struggle with physical energy, then I might suggest maybe trying some food, maybe just like even and I'm thinking about cost as well. I think it's also always important to bear in mind cost when you're looking at food and supplements. Just a small whey protein shake and a banana would be perfect. You could have that half an hour. If you're driving to the gym, you could bang that down you as soon as you get up and then start sipping on a coffee on the way to the gym. And I think that would be a really good approach and probably save you some money, if I'm honest. And then the kind of mindset thing, I'm sorry, I just think you've answered your own question. And I'm going to use a personal anecdote in that about 7 to 9 months ago, my training was really struggling. Not because I was physically not there, but mentally I was not there. I had too much on my plate. And in short, my house wasn't in order. My work side of my house wasn't in order. So I had to employ 1 or 2 more staff. I had to bring a few more systems into place. I had to restructure my mindset to say, do you know what? I am allowed to be in this place. I am allowed to be in the gym. This is my time. When I'm in the gym, I am not thinking about work. No one else needs me. This is my time. Whatever is happening right now, I can do it at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, whenever I sit down to work. So right now, you've got a lot going on work-wise. You need to bring some systems into place. You need to create yourself the mental space. These days, when I go into the gym, I absolutely love it because I'm there for a purpose. I'm mentally free and I just flow with it. And I don't give up. If anything, I want to carry on. But for me, you need to sort out the work side of things because there's no other problems from what you're saying. It's just that you're in there thinking, shit, I should be somewhere else. I've got work to do.
I agree. So just kind of like to add on from that. So there's 2, for me, reading this question, I automatically think Tim is confused because he's got 2 conflicting things going on. So the first thing is that he says he's training to keep healthy. And then he says, but I'm keen to gain lean muscle. Now, there's 2 totally different things. Training to keep healthy doesn't require intense training. It really doesn't. If you want to train to keep healthy and you're really in a maintenance phase, like you don't need to be jacked up on like heaps of caffeine and pre-workout and stuff post-training. Like nobody should, look, I'm a fan of it, like, double espresso and stuff pre-workout and the odd pre-workout now and again. But, like if you're just training for health, like you really don't need all of that stuff. And maybe it's that your program is actually too much volume for what you're trying to achieve. Like, so are you just trying to train for health because perhaps you don't need as much volume as you think you do? And the second thing is that if you're trying to gain lean muscle, that's a totally different thing because gaining lean muscle is hard work and, you have to pretty much do whatever it takes in terms of like your training. You have to really be there for your training to gain lean muscle. So at the moment, you also probably a little bit conflicted inside because you're trying to gain lean muscle, but you're probably feeling like a failure at it because you're not pushing yourself as hard as you need to in order to achieve that goal. So I would get very clear, get a goal that thoroughly excites you. And you know what? It's totally cool to be in maintenance phase. If you've got a lot going on in work right now, set the next 6 weeks aside where you go, you know what? I'm just in maintenance. I'm going to be training 4 days a week. I spend 45 minutes in the gym. I'm going to train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are my training days. Outside of that, it's focused work time. And that's it. Alternatively, if that's not what you want, then, if you are desperately wanting to gain lean muscle, then yes, you actually have to prioritize your training in there. But then, your work has to take a side step as well. So really decide on what you want, get a goal that thoroughly excites you, and focus on one thing.
Coming back to, personal example where I was going through that point where I didn't have enough space to train effectively, I had to be honest with myself and say, well, I've got to scale back. Like, I don't really have the energy, time and space to train as often as I'd like. And unfortunately, Tim doesn't give us an idea of how often he's actually training. Let's just assume he's training 5 or 6 days a week. Well, if keeping healthy is your primary goal right now, then mentally you need to give yourself some space. You need to give your health some more space. So I'd probably scale back to 3 days a week, as Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever it might be, whenever's convenient. Or if you have more time at the weekend, maybe you train on a Saturday and Sunday morning and then just one day during the week. You can get great results and be healthy training 3 days a week in that manner. So again, buy yourself some time, invest in the work stuff to get a system in place, and then be like, right, I'm ready now. Actually, I'm in a place and I can push myself. I'm going to start training 4, 5, maybe 6 days a week. And then you can really start to push the wheels on these things.
I agree.
But until you got the time, you can't do anything. And talking about time, we're actually going to wrap up the show there. I've run out of time because basically, because me and Rachel waffled too much before we came on the air today. And I've run out of time to finish recording. So we're going to carry on with these questions next time. I promise we'll go straight into it. I mentioned the Academy in the first question, or Katie did. The BTN Academy, which is my online nutrition course, starts again on the 1st of April. We've got new additions to the teaching this year. We've got Lane Norton teaching all the body composition parts of our course. We've got Jessie Mundell talking about female health and pregnancy, pre and post pregnancy. We've got Will Hawkins, who's coming in to talk about a lot of client adherence, a bit of psychology, mindset stuff. And then we've got Stephen Ace doing some bonus content. And then you'll have me in the kitchen with some of the other BTN coaches doing a load of video. We're basically doing like a cooking show that will be embedded into the new BTN Academy. So it's very exciting. And of course, for people that are listening to this who are in the Academy right now, yes, as always, you get this content. So don't think, I wish it was like that when I joined. Everyone always gets the most updated content.
So cool. Can I join?
Yeah, of course you can.
Hang on a minute. Why have I not seen the BTN stuff? Like, I rave about it all the time, and I know that, like, you produce some quality coaches because, we all talk. And yeah, why haven't I been invited on the BTN Academy?
Perhaps
I'm jealous.
You just need to ask, Rachel. If you don't ask, you don't get.
This is very true, Benny. Anyway, better let you go. But thank you for having me.
As always, it's a pleasure, my friend. Thank you all for listening onto the show. Next week we have Jeanette Hyde, who is the author of The Gut Makeover, a UK best-selling book. So we're going to be talking about the gut health, developments in the science and stuff. I know we touched on it a little bit today, or in fact I had a little moan about it today. But thank you all for supporting the show. Please do me the massive honour of engaging with us online, saying what you thought, giving it a like, a retweet, that kind of stuff. Keep supporting the show. And if you're someone that has joined the podcast maybe in the last couple of months, do me one thing. Take 2 minutes of your time. It'll be a massive, massive help to me. Go over to iTunes and leave us a review. It really does help. It helps the show get discovered. I have one of the most rated podcasts on the whole of iTunes. Some of the top shows in the US don't have as many ratings as we do, which helps more people discover the show. So if you haven't written a review, please just jump on over, take you a couple of minutes, and me and Rachel would massively appreciate it.
Please and thank you.
Right. I will speak to you all next week. Take care, everyone. Adios. Hey everyone, Coomber Radio, episode number 178, I think. I know I get this wrong all the time. Don't worry about it. It's a minor detail. I've never been good with numbers. It's not a strength of mine.